Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for having this exchange of energy with us. My intention is to help you raise your consciousness, raise your awareness. Why would that be important? Well, when you begin to see yourself from higher perspective, your world, you begin to see your world in a very different way, and in a way that is more enhanced, bigger, more accessible, plethora of benefits of having higher consciousness. I'm sure you know that's why you're here. So thank you so much for being here. If you like what you hear, I would love for you to share this with a friend or two. I firmly believe that the more people understand their own true power, their own true essence, and then embody that through various ways, we as humanity, hopefully, will become better people. I'm not saying people are bad, I'm not saying people are good. There's both and everything in between, but we could use a bit of a tweak up. So your understanding of yourself from a higher perspective allows you to, quote unquote, tweak yourself to a higher vibration. And higher vibration is always connected with source of love, source of what is. So essentially, my job is to help you connect with your source self, which is the source of everything. And that, when embodied, becomes very, very powerful, and we become powerful people. It's not that we are not powerful people right now. It's because we don't understand our inherent power. And my greatest wish, and what I love doing the most, is helping people such as yourself, and by showing you where your power is. And that's very meaningful to me. If you are coming back, thank you so much for being here. Of course, I will always be very grateful for you watching this, because without you, I wouldn't do this. And I absolutely love what I do. I love expressing this guidance. So today is going to be a little bit different. I received an interesting idea. First and foremost, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is resistance. It's favorite of mine because I love exploring human psyche. And by exploring human psyche, I can understand more deeply how the human mind works, how mind works. And it allows me to know myself. Resistance is wealth of information, and I love exploring that. However, I don't like how it feels. And I'm sure you've experienced resistance before. You are likely experiencing some form of resistance right now, which is why we're going to talk about today how to effectively deal with resistance. And resistance can be good, and there is plethora of reasons why resistance is good. For example, just a basic example, when you're trying to build a muscle, you will do this through resisting, and that allows your muscle to become stronger and bigger. So that's a positive. We're not talking about positive aspects of resistance. We're going to talk about the type of resistance that limits us, limits our experiences, limits what is possible for us aside from what is. And the last video I released a few days ago was about the new earth. Some call it 5D. There's various different names for it. Essentially, this new earth is an earth of a higher frequency. And we are in this earth right now, and therefore we are in the presence of this higher frequency. And higher frequency, the way I want to say it, means represents change. We're moving from old to quote unquote new, and the process in between is called change. And it is in the space of change where we experience a lot of resistance. So if you haven't watched the last video, I would encourage you to see it. And I believe it's titled New Earth is Here, the Positives and the Gifts and Challenges, and just see for yourself what it means to be in this new earth. What does it mean? And the positives, and then the challenges that come with it. Resistance being one of the bigger ones. So we'll talk about how to deal with resistance, but first I want to share with you channeled messages that I received. So I divided them into 3 different messages, and each card, each picture represents a certain message. So whatever picture you're drawn to, whatever your heart is calling to, is likely the message for you. So I channeled information I have written down, and then a card popped up, so we'll see how that matches up. It's actually very interesting for me to see how this works, because I haven't done it this way before, and I really want to incorporate channeled messages that feel like personal messages to you, while at the same time giving you the tools, the higher understanding, and the know-how, how to deal with whatever you are experiencing. So throughout this experience today, there will be information that I have written down, and there will be channeled information kind of sort of weaving throughout. And as I'm talking, I'm sure my team is going to chime in. So let's start. First and foremost, thank you. One of the things I'm being asked to say is this: consider that in this higher vibrating world, this 5D world, pretty much anything is possible. You may not grow wings and fly, but you may feel the freedom that is connected with the ability to just fly. So we are moving beyond our 3D limitations into what can be called as a more unlimited space. But it is not a place, it is space of awareness. It is a level of consciousness. That's why I am so passionate about understanding how the mind works, because your entire world resides in your own mind. And that's a very difficult thing to grasp for some, even for me sometimes. Yes, your entire world, your experience of your entire world lives in your mind. I want you to think about that for a moment. So, if we are desiring a different world, we have to approach it from the space of looking at the mind, because it is in the mind how we experience our world. So a higher vibration, a higher frequency basically means less restricted mind, where the mind is impossible to understand in my human analogy, because mind is, you cannot, like, you can grab the brain, but your brain is not your mind. Your brain is like a decoder box that decodes what comes into your mind. So it's very difficult to grasp what mind is. In fact, I will go as far as saying, and this is difficult to understand sometimes, to comprehend, all is mind. All is mind. My human mind goes, what? But there's this other aspect of me that knows, that experience all being mind. And we are part of this mind. We're part of this tremendous force. We call it source. Anyway, let's talk about your messages. So the first message, I feel like I'm incomplete with the last message. Okay, here's what I want to say. Resistance is a normal part of change. You've heard the term, what you resist persists. We've all heard it. Again, not all resistance is bad. As a matter of fact, resistance is neither good nor bad. Resistance simply is. And when we're going through this massive change, as we are going through right now, as you probably already know, resistance is something that's almost natural. Okay? It's only that when we fear change, resistance becomes even greater. But if we knew that the change represents something positive, would we resist it as much? Probably not. We tend not to resist things that feel good. We tend to want to embrace them. We more likely tend to resist things that don't feel good, that feel uncomfortable. And so resistance basically is like a threshold between comfort and discomfort. Okay? And here's what I was asked to say. Beyond every discomfort is another experience. Beyond every discomfort is another experience. I believe that to be true. Okay? So what experience are we resisting? And why are we resisting it? And there is various reasons for it, and I will go through the reasons and how to deal with it. But resistance is very normal. It's part of life. So if you find yourself resisting right now, don't feel bad about it. Just acknowledge that you are resisting. Don't try to run away from it. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't try to psychoanalyze your resistance. The best way to deal with resistance is to understand, why is it there? Why is it there in the first place? Because resistance in its own unique way is there to protect you, prevent you from something. Okay? Resistance is often tied to the idea of fear. So through resistance, through understanding resistance, we can really understand what's going on. We get to know ourselves. And of course, the goal is to know thyself. That's where freedom lives. So I just want to reiterate, if you're experiencing resistance, don't resist the resistance. See it for what it is. Try to understand it. Try to be kind to it. After all, it's there uniquely trying to help you in some sort of way. You may just not know or understand what that is. So I'm going to go through the messages. If you're drawn to card 1, the message I received for you was this. I saw you closing a door on a situation and you needing to keep that door closed. Okay? On the other side of this door was a sense of freedom and clarity, and life was still life, but you were more engaged in it. And I saw you working hard and appreciating the hard work, because you know that ultimately this hard work is integral for you to experience what you want to experience. So this is, thank you. This is talking about inner work, shadow work. Okay. So if you are in a situation where you feel like you need to close a certain door, and again, when you close that door, whatever it is for you, it could be on a person, could be on a situation, could be anything. Closing a door as a metaphor. When you close that door, make sure that it remains closed. I wonder if some of you have tried to close certain doors, but you kept going back over and over again. This time, if you choose to close this door, the guidance for you is be open to possibilities that are in front of you and don't look back. Okay? You might be feeling undecided right now about a choice that you need to make. Should I close this door? Should I move? Should I leave? Should I let go? If that's being presented to you, if that's an internal thing that's happening, then chances are that you are on the move towards something new. But you have to be willing to let go of the old in order to experience the new. And it is in this space that you will likely experience some form of resistance. So you are likely resisting some sort of change, some sort of closing a door. For some of you, you might be the one initiating this change. For others of you, it's like the universe is pushing you out. It's pushing you out. It's like the universe is saying, hey, once you close that door, you'll be able to see what's in front of you. But unless you close that door and move on, you can't reach for the stars. You can't have what you want. And I'm hearing the words codependency. Perhaps you are someone who is codependent. Perhaps you live with someone who is codependent. Perhaps you're in a situation where you are doing most or all of the work, and you quote unquote sick and tired of it. If that's the case for you in whatever capacity, you have a choice. You either continue doing what you're doing and make peace with what is, or you make a change, and a change that is more satisfactory to you. And they're saying, this won't change by itself. You have to be actively engaged in making this change happen. So it requires you to make an effort and make a step forward. Okay? So that's what I have for you, pile number one. That was the message. Let's see what card came up. Drive. Okay. So this to me suggests that you are indeed ready to move, to charge forward. The mountains in the back to me signify obstacles, and you are leaving these obstacles behind you. You are moving on, as they say. In the process of moving on, you are receiving a lot of healing, particularly around your heart chakra. So this may very well be for some of you connected to your heart chakra, where you are needing to let something go that you were connected to with the heart. Maybe you are letting go of an old story. Maybe you are letting go of a story that says, I am not good enough. I will never meet the right man, woman, whatever it is. Because letting go of an old story allows you to experience a new story. But until you let go of an old story, you can't experience the new. That's just the way it works. You are not alone on this journey. You have companions around you that are helping you every day by whispering to your ear. You may or may not hear it. You may feel it as an intuition. You may feel it as some internal guidance. There are many forces, I can say, that are like pushing you forward. You are being aided in making this move. You are fully qualified. Whatever this move is, you are fully qualified. And I just heard the pasture is indeed greener on the other side. So you are moving towards something bigger and better. But there's a definite feeling that you need to move something in the past or someone's in the past. For some of you, it's moving on from family drama. If you have been involved in family drama, you are deciding, enough of that. I choose to no longer participate in family drama. It could be any drama for that matter, any drama. So moving on from drama, pile number one. moving on from heartache, moving on from discontent, and clearing the path so that you can experience a different version of your own world, a different version of your own world. And they're saying you are very much capable of creating this version of your world. You just have to choose it. You have to choose. Okay? So if you're having resistance to moving on right now, message number 1, know that you are being aided, and remember, on the other side of every discomfort is yet another experience. So I'm very excited for you, because to me it represents movement forward to something bigger and better. And even though I'm sharing this with you, you may still be experiencing some resistance. So when I go through all the different ways of dealing with resistance, there'll be some pointers that will, I believe, help you. Okay? Message number 2. For you, what I received was a definite self-exploration. I saw you self-reflecting, and I wrote, don't be afraid of looking in the mirror. Shadow work. Okay? What you see is neither bad nor good. It simply is. Drop the judgments you hold about yourself and others. This will ultimately free you from your own pain and discomfort of looking at yourself. So this is, there's more, sorry. See yourself through the eyes of the Creator and understand that in the eyes of the Creator, you are nothing short of perfection. This is all about how you see yourself. Be at peace with yourself so that you can enjoy more of your journey. Crossroads only represent an opportunity to step into some different experience. Choose the experience, and the universe will show you the way by presenting an alternative path for you to explore. Let's see what the message is, what the card is. Childlike expression, okay? You have a lot of feelings and emotions that are unexpressed, that are stored, I'll use that analogy, in your childhood memories. These are the type of feelings that limit your creation. Okay, for example, things like, I'm not good enough, is very likely part of your story, and this information of you not being good enough was presented to you by some sort of an authority, where in some way, shape, or form, the authority figure, could be your mom, made you feel or said something that made you feel not good enough. And then you went to school and you were laughed at or you were bullied, and it just compounded that feeling of, I am not good enough. Remember, in the eyes of the Creator, you are nothing short of perfection. We're not talking about you seeking perfectionism, because first and foremost, that doesn't exist. Although, if you're a surgeon and you're having a surgery on someone, I want you to be precise. I'm not talking about that. Okay? However, if you feel that you somehow have to reach this perfect version of yourself, then I want you to imagine what that version looks and feels like. Not even what it looks like, what it feels like. What does it feel? What is it supposed to feel, according to you, when you arrive at the idea of being perfect? And just allow yourself to explore the mind for the answer. Someone said to me, they said that for them to be perfect means that they're good at everything. And I said, oh, no. I'm sorry. That's never going to work. You cannot be good at everything. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can be an amazing at something and suck at something else. That's perfectly normal, perfectly okay. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the way it should be. Okay? Although shoulds and shouldn'ts, that's a label. there's no such thing as being good at everything. If you try, I don't believe you're going to succeed. Instead, realize what you're really good at. What are you really good at? And expand on that. If you are really good at sharing stories, perhaps expand your ways of how you share. Perhaps allow yourself to share more. Perhaps you sharing stories helps others heal. Perhaps this is what you're really good at. Does that mean that you have to be good at building an airplane? No. I mean, I guess you can if you want to, but if that's not your gig, if that's not your genius, why bother? So there is this need seeking for perfection. And that is a very slippery slope because, like I said, it doesn't exist. On the other hand, here's what I would encourage you to do. Again, if you allow yourself to see through the eyes of Source, and in the eyes of Source, even though Source has no eyes, but that's a metaphor, in the eyes of Source, you are perfection. I want to challenge you. I want you to look for the things that are amazing about you. And yes, there are many. If you cannot see your own amazement, you're not seeing clearly, or you don't want to see it. Why would you not want to see your amazement? Perhaps you're not used to seeing yourself or believing that you're amazing. Perhaps because you were taught to believe that you are not good enough. So not being good enough and amazing doesn't compute. But what if the person who said to you or made you feel that you were not good enough, what if they were wrong? What if they were simply projecting their own fears onto you? What if the whole idea of not being good enough is not even yours? It's like you're wearing somebody else's clothing and it doesn't fit you. So, message number 2, allow yourself to let go of the identity that you are somehow less than. Are you different than other people? Yes, you're supposed to be. You are having a completely unique experience. There is no one like you. There is no experience like you, because no one sees exactly the way you see through your own lenses. And that's how Source gets to know itself. You're exactly who you are, quote unquote, supposed to be in this moment. If you feel like there is something you'd like to change about you, make it a realistic change. What's an unrealistic change? Well, if you're 5'4", but you say, God damn it, I want to be 5'8". Well, you can do that, but the chances of you reaching that are pretty slim unless you have some sort of surgery, which hey, if that's you're into it, then that's fine. On the other hand, so that's an unreasonable desire. Okay, I'm not saying that you don't have it, but you're not going to grow 4 inches. Chances are. Okay, that's unrealistic change. A form of realistic change, for example, is I want to feel better about the way I look. All right, so one of the things you can do, first and foremost, is recognize how you see yourself right now. How do you see you? How do you see yourself right now? If you want to feel better, if you want to look better, how do you see yourself right now? What's the alternative? Okay, and recognize that the way you see yourself is the way you feel about yourself. Okay. If someone says to you, And a drastic example, if someone says to you, hey, you're ugly, but you're like, okay, well, actually, I feel pretty good about myself. First of all, that's their opinion, okay? And I often say opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, and they often stink, pardon me. The choice you have is to believe it or to go, yeah, no, sorry, that's not my thing, okay? On the other hand, if you feel about yourself that you're not good enough, if you are not confident, somebody calling you ugly may make you go, ugh, okay? But again, notice what I said. If you believe that you are not good enough, or if you're insecure about yourself and someone calls you that, then it's likely to stick to you. You don't want it to stick to you because it doesn't belong to you. It's their opinion, okay? So what you might want to do is, where was I even going with this? I totally lost the train of thought. Okay. That just went right through me. Sometimes it happens. It's like a flat line. This thing about perfection. Release the need to be perfect, knowing that you are perfect already. I know that's not what the human mind wants to think, but I want you to entertain that idea and then see what happens, okay? However, that does not mean that you cannot enhance your life or enhance yourself or enhance what you do or enhance your surroundings. It doesn't mean any of that. You can desire so many things, desire it from a space of wanting a different experience rather than trying to be perfect. Because I can pretty much guarantee you, when you reach that space that you call perfect, but it doesn't come from feeling whole, it's not going to last. It is, thank you. They're giving me the analogy of plastic surgery. By the way, nothing wrong with plastic surgery. That's not what it's about. Oftentimes when somebody undergoes plastic surgery, unless their mind undergoes some sort of surgery as well, metaphorically speaking, their physical appearance and how they feel about it is going to be short-lived. And we've seen that over and over. That's what happens. In other words, you can make an external change, but if the internal change does not match the external change, you're still going to be at war. Okay? So the point I'm trying to make is, if you are desiring to have a different experience, move towards that experience, but not because you think that this experience is somehow going to make you better, make you be more, make you be... Realize that you are whole right now. And as long as you believe that you are whole right now and you choose another experience, you're going to effectively experience less resistance. You'll just be more in a natural flow. You won't be running away from anything. Okay? So that's what I have for you, message number 2. Message number 3, this was very interesting. This is a metaphor. Color your own world. Don't let others dictate to you what your world should look like, unless it is also your preferred choice. Don't give the responsibility of creating your world to others. You decide how you want your world to be. Engage. Be a participant, a conscious creator rather than a passenger. You choose what road to follow or what path to follow. You can change your mind at any time in terms of what you choose, but choose wisely. So I said, well, how do we choose wisely? Your inner self will know. Connect with your inner self for guidance on daily or regular basis. And this is you practicing communicating with the God source presence within you. Okay? It's you practicing connecting with God's source presence within you. And trust that this source after all, it is source of all creation, is very wise. In other words, there is tremendous wisdom that lives within you. You just have to look for it, and it's on the inside, okay? Ask for outside guidance, yes, but always check with your own inner wisdom if this particular guidance resonates with you. Then either choose to follow or not. You make the choice. This can seem very hard when we are conflicted. So examine your inner conflict, shadow work. And then I got the word independence. It feels like some of you are trying to become more independent. Perhaps you're trying to be, perhaps your idea of independence is to be your own boss. And perhaps this is actually a role that you are wanting to step into, but you are not sure the how and where or when. And you are looking for outside to direct you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like they said, ask for guidance, yes. But ultimately, whatever guidance you receive from outside, it still has to match your inner guidance. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're just following what somebody else said. But how do you know if what somebody else said is something that's right for you? You don't know, right? And sometimes we don't know. So we have to lean on the idea of trust. If you are looking for guidance from outside source, first make sure you trust this source. Don't ask just anybody out on the street, although that isn't always a bad idea, but ask a trusted source. Now, ultimately, your most trusted source lives inside of you. So this is about a message about really looking within in order to make right choices and right decisions for yourself. And that is what makes you truly an independent person. When you rely on yourself to make the right choices for you, it doesn't mean that you don't have resources to help you make the right choice. And oftentimes, outside can help us make the right choice, but it still has to, we still have to know if it's the right choice for us. So it's trusting your own intuition. It's very important. Trusting your intuition with regards to this new direction, because it feels like you are shifting gears. What I see for you is you are switching paths. But it's interesting because though you are on a path and there's another path, alternative path, but it's not in a completely different direction. It's a parallel. So it's going in the same direction, so to speak, but it's like a different flavor. So when I say different flavor, it's the way you express yourself going forward is going to be slightly different. Your goal is ultimately the same, to reach a certain destination, but the how you're choosing to reach the destination seems to be changing. Okay, we all are, but you are also going through a lot of frequency upgrades, and during this time, your perspectives may be changing a lot, and sometimes you may not see things very clearly. When you're not seeing things very clearly, it's important for you to take a break, to relax, to maybe step away from the situation and see if other forms of information come to you so that you can make the right decision for yourself. And this is very much indicative of me. This is very indicative for me of you making some sort of change of path. And for some of you, it feels like it's a drastic change. So it feels like a drastic change. But as you make this change, I literally see you stepping out from the dark to the light. So this is just representing to me that you are moving on to something that feels lighter, less dense, less rigid, less analytical, more felt, more more unencumbered. I want to say, for those of you who are making this choice, if this is making sense to you, be grateful. Allow yourself to be grateful for every experiences you have had thus far, including the ones that we would call quote unquote negative. Why? Because those experiences are directly going to aid you in this new path that you're choosing. The way I can say it is also this way. You are taking charge of your life. You are creating your own life. You are not afraid of asking for more. There's always more. But you're not asking from greed, because that's a shadow aspect. You're asking from the space of knowing that anything is possible, and you are choosing to have a new experience, a more expanded experience. And that feels very enlightening for many of you. There's a sense of lightness. There is this, the image I'm getting is the one I received from message number 1. So you might be connecting to message number 1, but this is how I see you. It's you moving forward. But it's really important that you are the one that makes the right choice or decision for yourself. And I'm just going back here where they said you can change your mind at any time in terms of what you choose. Don't be afraid to change your mind. Perhaps you've decided on something and you've been in it for a while, and now somehow things have changed and you don't want to be there anymore. And maybe there's a part of you that feels bad that you have committed to something, but now it feels like it's not for you. Do your best not to stay somewhere that doesn't feed you out of obligation. I'm not talking about the obligations where we have to go and we have to do our thing and we have to be responsible citizens. I'm not talking about that. But if you make a choice, if you choose to stay somewhere where you don't want to be purely out of obligation, what I would say to you is that unless you make peace with staying there, you will undoubtedly experience anger and what's the word, please? The word escaped me. Not resistance too, but you'll experience anger. You will start getting angry. You will be conflicted because you'll be doing something you either don't want to be doing, or you're going to be somewhere you don't want to be. Resentment, thank you. If you do that and you don't make peace with staying where you're staying, even though it's not what you want, if you don't make peace with it, you're going to eventually become very resentful. And whether it's resentful of the situation, resentful of the people, and resentment is ultimately going to eat at you. It's going to eat you from inside out, and it doesn't feel very good. Okay? So whatever choice you make sure it's the right choice for you. And if you feel the right choice on some level is needing to stay, even though you don't want to stay, but you have a valid reason that supersedes you moving on, make peace with it. Okay? And then see what happens. Eventually what might happen is once you make peace with that situation somehow magically revolves or resolves. So I see two scenarios here. Some of you are moving on and some of you are resisting moving on and you're choosing to stay. Make sure that if you choose to stay, for whatever reason, you must have a very good reason, you release anger or resentment, okay? Because then you're going to feel like you're trapped. Let's see what message came for you. Harmony. So this is being at peace with yourself. This is talking about the sacral chakra. There is some... Okay, I'm just a messenger. For some of you, there is some bitterness and resentment that's still pent up. about something that is unresolved, some unresolved feeling. Perhaps you're angry at somebody because they've disappointed you, and that has eroded your idea of trust. So now you don't trust people. Now you don't trust the universe. Maybe you don't trust you. Perhaps you believe that somehow the world is out to get you. It's a very real thing. Here's what I want to say to you from a higher perspective. The universe also always wants to support you. So if you have an idea that the world is trying to get you, then you are, this understanding is coming from a shadow self. You want to understand which story this is coming from. Because if you believe that the world is out to get you, you're going to be constantly trying to protect yourself. You will certainly not experience a whole lot of peace because you will be anxious while something is always trying to get you. You will not be as relaxed as you could be, and that will take its toll on your physical body. So as we know, our physicality is very much connected to our emotions, and our emotions play a key role on the health of our physical body. It all has to go hand in hand. So when we're holding on to some unresolved energies, oftentimes it can express itself in a human body as some form of pain or discomfort. So if you've been experiencing, some of you may be experiencing a lot of bowel movements lately. Sorry, TMI. And it feels to me like because you're in an exchange of a high frequency, your body is clearing. Okay, so you might actually have an upset stomach. But for example, I'm hearing the word endometriosis. Perhaps there is a person who has this condition, and somehow this condition is tied to the idea of you holding on to some unresolved conflict, some unresolved inner pain. Of course, I'm not a doctor, and that's not what my role is, but emotions do play a part in the health of our physical body. So sacral chakra is also your creativity. When you don't trust, you squash your own creativity. That's just the way it is. So even though you are a powerful creator, you will powerfully squash your creativity. You wouldn't want to do that. So there is some sacral chakra healing being indicated. Okay? So that's what I have for the piles. Now, let's go through some of the ways that resistance shows up and how we can deal with it. So, first and foremost, to deal with resistance, it requires awareness, patience, and strategic actions. Okay? Acknowledge your resistance. Running from resistance is never going to work because resistance is inside of you. So wherever you go, it goes with you. Don't resist the resistance, as they say. Recognize and accept that resistance is a natural response to change or a new challenge. Instead of ignoring it, take a moment to understand its source. Okay, resistance, what are you all about? When I work with clients in sessions, I often have them connect with their emotion, with their feeling, with their belief as a source of information. And it is mind-boggling the type of information that comes through when we connect with those different aspects of ourselves. This is the shadow work. This is parts work, as I call it. So by understanding your resistance and the root of that resistance can really show you what's going on the inside. It helps you to get know yourself better. Identify the root cause. Reflect on what's causing the resistance. Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it lack of clarity or past experience? Combination of all of these things. Understanding the underlying cause can help you address it more effectively because you know what you're dealing with. Break down to the goal. Resistance often arises when a task or goal seems too overwhelming or it's too big. Break it down into smaller pieces. Manageable steps make it less intimidating. For example, and I'm just going to use this example. Let's say you're trying to lose weight, okay? Because everybody understands that. Let's say you're trying to lose weight, and you know that working out for you would be a really good idea for various reasons: mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, surely. And it's just good for you, right? But you are, oh my God, every time you try to go to the gym, you basically block yourself from going. And you recognize, okay, I am resisting this gym, okay? Perhaps what you want to do, rather than trying to go from not moving your body at all to all of a sudden going to the gym, perhaps give yourself a promise that for the next little while, to reduce the level of discomfort of this resistance going to the gym, you'll go for a walk. You'll go for a 15-minute or 20-minute walk, but then do it. So it's less intimidating than going to the gym. I remember the first time I stepped into a gym, it was terrifying. It is for many people, because you are surrounded by many people who are fit, and you're not so feeling great about yourself, and it just feels intimidating. But after a while, you go to the gym and you don't even notice all these other people. It just becomes very normal. So that's an example of something that you can do to make your goal into smaller pieces. Reframe your mindset. Obviously, that's a big one. Everything is about how we see things. Shift your perspective on the situation. Instead of viewing the challenge as a threat, see it as an opportunity for growth and learning. Remember, resistance represents something uncomfortable, and on the other side of the discomfort is another experience. So know that there is something for you to gain from in terms of an experience. See the situation as an opportunity to grow and to know yourself more. We don't necessarily grow when things are not easy, because it requires nothing from us. It doesn't require us to dig into our strength. When we move through resistance, we experience aspects of ourselves we often didn't know we have. One of them is courage. Okay? Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Resistance often triggers self-criticism, yes. But practicing self-compassion can help you move through it with more ease. I will say this up front. I've talked about this before. I am an expert at resistance. In fact, today before this video, I resisted so much and so long that I finally said, really? Really? Okay, I get the point. I'm going to talk about resistance. And it's very real. And I know most of why I'm resisting. Some of it, I'm sure, is still in the shadows, because it's a constant work that's evolving. And it's still very present. I resist a lot. However, I don't let the resistance stop me or keep me from doing things. I just have to do it. So sometimes, and I keep getting my guys, okay, Joanna, we're ready. Okay, we're ready. Okay, we're ready. And I inevitably get up and do a spray or something just so I don't do this. Stupid, isn't it? And I've been doing this I've been creating content on YouTube since 2014, I believe, or 16, somewhere there. So you'd figure that I would have no resistance. Apparently my skull is very thick. But have compassion. At the end of the day, your resistance is trying to help you. And it only knows how to help you. The way it knows how to help you is to create resistance. So have compassion for yourself. Take small, consistent actions. Okay? Start with small, actionable steps to build momentum. Even minor progress can diminish resistance over time. So one of the ways I deal with resistance is I eventually sit down and I press the play button or record button, and then I start talking. The moment I start talking, it just goes, it's kind of, and I'm thinking, so much resistance for this? Are you serious? So if you're resisting creating a video, for example, and I know what that feels like, perhaps allow yourself to just record a conversation you're having without the need to do anything about it. You're just doing it for yourself, so no one is going to see it. That way it's less pressure, and you basically said to yourself, well, no one has to see it, so I can mess up if I want to. And just do that and see what happens. And I have instructed clients to do this, and I know it works. It takes a while, it's a process, but it works. Seek support. Talk to someone you trust about the resistance you're facing. Sometimes an outside perspective can provide valuable insight and encouragement. So I I work with people who experience resistance a lot of the time. In fact, I would say that 90% of all the clients I see is because they're experiencing some sort of conflict or resistance. Remember, resistance is neither good nor bad. It simply is. It's showing up for a reason, and exploring the reasons becomes part of your inner knowing journey. And outside help, such as myself, can often show you a different perspective so that you can move beyond your resistance and recalibrate yourself from inside out so that you are experiencing less resistance. So outside help can absolutely help. Perhaps this video is going to help you how to deal with resistance. Visualize success. Of course, we already know the power of the mind. Your world is experienced within your mind. When you visualize success, you are giving yourself permission to see yourself experiencing success. It's like you are tapping into an alternative timeline, because that's essentially what's happening. And when you tap into this parallel timeline, you connect with it emotionally, you connect with it with a feeling. The moment you connect with a feeling, a desired feeling, your resistance becomes less. So visualization, as we all know, is very important. We don't even think about how much we visualize. When we are when we are resisting, it is often because we are imagining an outcome that we don't like or we're afraid of. Again, if we knew that beyond this resistance, beyond this change is something positive, we would likely resist it a lot less. So visualize yourself as a successful person. Now, here's what I want to say. I would go as far as saying, and I will say it, I want you to see yourself as a successful person right now. You just have no idea how successfully you create. In fact, if you were to open yourself up and realize just how successfully you create, you're just not realizing that you are creating it, you'd shock yourself. You are a success already. I understand that that's not what the 3D human would say. But remember, in every moment of every day, as far as Source sees you, you are pure perfection. If you're pure perfection, we could say that's success. I want you to feel yourself as a success. Why do you want success? Why do people want success? Because it means something to them. It has a meaning. I want you to tap into this meaning of success, what it means to you. And I want you to vibe in that energy. And the easiest way to do that is to visualize yourself being successful in whatever form that is desirable to you. Embrace uncertainty. Not an easy one. Because when we are facing uncertainty, our fear arises. And this is, as far as I'm concerned, a perfect time, a perfect opportunity to discover your fear, to understand your fear, to understand your shadows. And I work with shadows. That's what I do. And I always say, your shadow is not a bad thing. It's an aspect of you that has a purpose, that's working for you, not against you. It's generally trying to protect you from something, and it's the only way it knows how. Once you change your once you shift your relationship with your shadow, your life becomes completely different because you integrate your shadow. You're no longer fighting your shadow or hiding from your shadow. You're integrating your shadow. So understanding that not everything needs to be figured out immediately. That is true. Sometimes you need to figure out something right away. Sometimes you have hours, days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. And it is okay not to know everything. It's okay not to know everything. In actuality, it's part of the quote-unquote fun being on planet Earth. There is a certain level of uncertainty. It's an element of surprise, right? If you knew that every surprise was a fantastic one, would you fear it? No, right? Embrace the uncertainty and keep moving forward, even if the path isn't entirely clear. Sometimes dealing with uncertainty can be helped by speaking to an outside source. One of the other points I've mentioned, support. Sometimes dealing with your uncertainty can be helped by you seeking out support so that they can help you. So they can help you with this uncertainty, so that they can guide you. Again, regardless of who it is and what the guidance is, you need to always check with your inner wisdom if that's the right guidance for you. Reflect on past successes. This is really important. Here's why. Because you've had successes before. I know you do. Even if you say to me, I've never had any success, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to say bullshit. If you were to share your life with me, I would pinpoint your successes right away. The problem is you don't deem these as successes, and that is all about how you see things. Okay, so again, change of perspective. Set boundaries. If external factors are contributing to the resistance, consider setting boundaries to protect your time, energy, and focus. I'm sure you know a little bit about boundaries or not having boundaries. Boundaries are important. I don't need to go into the reasons why boundaries are important. I can make another video about it, but boundaries are important. Not walls, boundaries. Boundaries basically, it's not that they protect your space, first of all, boundaries help you stay balanced. You know what's yours, you know what isn't. Boundaries allow you to feel more at comfort with yourself rather than being bombarded by outside noise and feeling overwhelmed. Perhaps some of you need to assert your boundaries a little bit more. Maybe it's as simple as saying, hey, from this day forward, I'm going to need 10 minutes for me, and I'm going to lock myself in a room because I want to meditate. Whereas before, it was an open door and you couldn't find your own space to be with yourself. Perhaps that's a boundary. It's just a little example, but it's actually a powerful one. Perhaps you are used to people being overly overzealous in trying to help you. Perhaps there are some people in your life who are trying to tell you what to do and how to do it. And you have your own mind, you have your own voice, but perhaps you haven't practiced speaking your mind or speaking out your voice. And perhaps the boundary that you can set is, from this point forward, I'm going to speak my mind, I'm going to speak my voice. Why? Because it's important. If it's important to you, it's important. And that will help you stay not so overwhelmed, because I feel some of you are feeling a lot of overwhelm coming from other people, and that may be a situation where you need to set some boundaries. Maybe physical boundaries, energetic boundaries. I feel like boundaries are very important. Stay patient. Overcoming resistance is often a gradual process. Be patient with yourself and acknowledge that progress, no matter how slow, is still progress. The type of change that we are going through absolutely requires us to have patience, because what we are going through is monumental. It does not happen overnight. Frequency upgrade on planet Earth is a process. The Earth and its people need to learn how to accommodate this new higher frequency. To give you an example, we are human 3D beings functioning on a fairly dense frequency, which means how much light we hold is quote unquote limited. Okay? If we all of a sudden were bombarded with this high frequency all at once, our electrical system, our nervous system wouldn't be able to handle it. It's too much for the psyche. I'm going to give you this example. There are many cases of people having spontaneous Kundalini awakening, and that can send some people to a psych ward. It's too much. Think of it as energy. So we need to be patient we need to be patient throughout this process, and it takes time. Things like drinking lots of water, making sure we're staying flexible, making sure we take good care of our physical organism. All these things take time. If you are not used to taking care of yourself, you're not likely going to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden start taking care of yourself in various different ways, because you're in a habit of not taking care of yourself. So you're going to have to employ some things and some practices and stick to it. And sometimes you will not want to. Sometimes you will resist. Sometimes like, oh, I can't be bothered. Remember what the goal is. Okay? So being patient with yourself is very important. Last but not least, celebrate small wins. I don't care how small it is, celebrate it. If your small win is that you're trying to record a video like I have, and you finally push the record button and you start talking, even if you don't do anything with this information, that's success. You have just moved beyond some invisible wall. You've just made a step further towards a greater experience. That's a success. So these are all the different ways that we can not combat resistance, but deal with resistance. And I hope that the information I gave you, the channel information, resonated with you. Thank you so much for being here. I would love to hear your comment in how this is connecting with you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. If you would like my help in whatever it is that you're dealing with in terms of this whole waking up process, you can get a hold of me. That information is down below. I also have a platform where I work with individuals live in group setting, and it's a private group setting where we talk about these things, and there's a lot of channeling and information going, and exercises. Is I basically walk people through a process and help them overcome their challenges. If you're interested in something like that, I will be making an announcement in the next few weeks. So just put yourself on my mailing list, and you will receive a notification when it happens. And I'm quite excited about it because, let's just say, I'm very excited about it because I haven't done this before, not to that extent. So I'm really looking forward to being in the presence of more of you and helping you all move through this process. Thank you so much for being here once again, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.